E.N.D here. In Age of Eternities, faster than light travel allows the diverse civilizations of the Sotera system to mingle, trade, and at times wage war. By navigating through the Chaos Wall, ships can exit and re-emerge across the galaxy, making vast interstellar journeys feel almost instant. In-game, the sense of rapid traversal is captured through a dynamic and flavorful mechanic. Warp. Warp is a keyword ability introduced on permanents in Age of Eternities. It represents faster than light travel across the edge, quick, efficient, but not without consequences. Warp allows you to cast a spell faster than normal, but at a cost. The card will exile at the beginning of your next end step, typically the end of your turn. Warp represents an alternative cost. If you cast a card with warp from your hand, you may choose to pay its warp cost rather than its mana cost. If you do, you will exile the permanent at the beginning of the next end step. It then becomes a warped card. Once the card is exiled, you can cast it from exile on a later turn. Because warp is only usable from your hand, you won't be able to pay the warp cost again when you cast it from exile. But how do you play warp? Let's build our battlefield and let's cast Bygone Colossus. Bygone Colossus, 9 generic mana. It's a 9/9, has warp 3. I'm going to cast it for its warp cost, 3 generic mana. Any spell with warp, it's a normal spell, therefore when casted, it will go on the stack. There can be a counter, there can be a response, nothing happens, and my warp creature hits the battlefield. Because I casted my Bygone Colossus for its warp cost, 3 generic mana compared to 9, quite fast. At the beginning of my end step, I need to exile it, then on a later turn, I can cast it from exile for its normal cost, 9 generic mana. What can I do with a 9/9 creature for just 1 turn? You may ask. I assure you, you can do a lot. You can give it haste and attack. You can use it to crew a vehicle, saddle a mount, or more importantly, in Age of Eternities, you can use it to station a spacecraft. You can use it for the Void mechanic, another new mechanic in Age of Eternities which cares about warp spells. You can use it for Convoke. You can use it for a triggered ability, like in the case of Up the Beanstalk. Or you can sacrifice it as an additional cost, like in the case of Deadly Dispute. I'm sure you will find a way to make use of your warp creature before it vanishes faster than the speed of light. Some notes: warp costs are almost always cheaper, enabling you to accelerate your plays. However, don't forget, there's the catch. If you cast a permanent using its warp cost, it enters the battlefield normally, but is exiled at the beginning of your next end step. Once exiled this way, you can cast it again from exile by paying its regular mana cost as long as it remains there. Some cards care about whether a spell was warped this turn. This means that a spell was cast by paying its warp cost. It doesn't matter whether the spell resolved, and it doesn't matter who cast this spell. If a spell cast using warp leaves the battlefield before your next end step, for example, if my Bygone Colossus is destroyed, it will go to the graveyard normally. It will not be exiled by the warp ability at the beginning of my next end step. If a permanent you cast using warp is returned to your hand bounced before your next end step, it won't be exiled since it's no longer on the battlefield, and yes, you can cast it again using its warp cost, even if you already did once this turn. Warp doesn't restrict you how many times you can cast it. As long as the card is in your hand, you can keep casting it for its warp cost. Every time you pay it, the same exile clause applies. So that's how you play warp, a very interesting mechanic that let you play spells earlier than usual. Leave me a comment below what you think about this new mechanic. And as always, subscription button here, subscribe for my channel for more and more interesting videos about Magic the Gathering and the collectible with Liliana.